Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host, Lair the Chupacabra, and today we're talking about setting up OBS for Mac. And OBS for Mac is the port to Mac from the popular recording and streaming software, open broadcasting software that's available for free on the internet. And you know what? It's about time. There's not a lot of very simple to use and low resource dependent programs for recording gameplay on the Mac. In fact, currently, best recorders are things like ScreenFlow, which is what I'm using to record this tutorial, and it doesn't really do a superb job with recording gameplay. It's kind of a big, bulky recorder, and it's meant for a much different sort of audience. So today we're going to be going over things like setting up streaming settings, your video recording quality settings, and then your audio settings. And most notably, for other people who might be joining us for this tutorial, we'll be talking about how to set up Soundflower to make sure that you can properly record background audio, desktop audio, all sorts of audio on your computer so that you don't miss anything or your really sweet cutscene from the latest, RPG game doesn't get muted by mistake. Because, unfortunately, OBS for Mac is very new, so it's not quite as feature-rich as the PC version, and one of the issues that it has is properly recording audio all by its lonesome. Good news, we've got a solution for that, so if that's the reason you've come to this tutorial, hit up the video description and you can find the skip index somewhere in there, and you can find the one labeled Soundflower and skip right to that part. You don't have to listen to the rest of it. For everyone else, pop open your OBS, hit up the settings button, and we'll take off on a magical technical adventure. So like I was saying, OBS isn't quite as feature-rich, so the only thing you've really got to worry about when you first open up the settings panel is pick your language. I'm in the US, so I'll be sticking with English, but they've got just about everything from Dutch all the way down to, if I'm not mistaken, I think these characters are from South Korea. So they've got a whole lot of stuff. You can pick whatever you're comfortable with, and you don't have to settle for a secondary language or something, which is kind of nice. Not all open source programs offer you that. So after that, we'll pop over to the streaming settings. So streaming and video settings have sort of been simplified, and they've put most of those settings into the Outputs tab. For streaming, all you got to worry about is, are you using a streaming service or are you using a custom streaming server? Streaming services are things like Twitch, YouTube, Hitbox, Vaughn Live, Dailymotion, etc. And for my money, I'm going to go with Hitbox. Hitbox has actually just opened up their doors so everyone can make the dollars while streaming without being partnered. So that was kind of cool of them. And then you just pick your server type. I'm in Colorado in the US, so I'm going to go with US West. And then for Stream Key, your streaming dashboard in your streaming service, when you log in, will provide you with a stream key. You just copy and paste that right here, and then OBS will take care of the rest, and it'll pop up on your stream page, like, instantly once you start streaming. Provided you have a fast enough internet connection, that is. The other stream type, custom streaming server, all you gotta do, pop in your server URL, server address, so that your stream is sent to the correct place, and then it too should provide you with some type of stream key. Pretty simple and straightforward. That's something I can certainly get behind, and then we'll jump over to the Outputs tab. So, OBS for Mac, unfortunately, only records in the FLV file format. What is FLV video, I hear you asking me, Mr. Chupacabra? Well, FLV video is the Flash video standard developed as sort of a companion to Macromedia and later Adobe's Flash platform. And that was just basically so that it could be a nice, ultra-compressed video file that was really easy to put onto the internet, so there was less stuff to load back in the era where that was a huge issue. Unfortunately, that's the only thing they offer. You can't switch it to MP4 video, and Flash video has a history of not being very well supported on Mac at all. So if you're having trouble using that, there's lots of free software out there to convert it. I've been using a program called Smart Converter, and its icon is down here. It's like this little blue circle with a little play button in it. Or you can use and view your videos if you're not comfortable editing them yet, using a program called VLC Media Player. I will link to VLC Media Player in the video description if you're interested in picking up that software to view your files. So, not a lot to worry about here on output. You've just got choose where you want your videos to be saved. I just let mine default to my movies folder. And then you just got to worry about your video and audio bit rates. What is this video bitrate thing you speak of, Mr. Chupacabra? I've heard about that, but not many people have really explained it to me. Well, video bitrate is basically the maximum amount of data that the video can encode at a time, and think of it like a massive digital highway, and the information being recorded to your video is like a bunch of cars. The bigger the highway, the more cars full of delicious video quality that can fit on that highway. So typically, the higher the bitrate, the better. And for internet videos, I typically recommend you record at about 25,000 kilobits per second to 35,000 kilobits per second. Unfortunately, because OBS for Mac currently only supports Flash, the highest you can go is 16,000. So go ahead and put that at maximum for the purposes of recording. If you are streaming, I repeat, if you are streaming, a great many streaming services get kind of ornery with you if you go over 3,500 kilobits per second, because that's the amount of data streaming per second over their network. That's about a little under 3 megabytes per second. You usually don't want to go over that because they'll get mad at you, and usually if you send more than that, they'll either ignore it or manually reduce it themselves, so you're just wasting your own bandwidth. So use this if you're streaming, use 16,000 if you're recording. Write that down in a sticky note, kids, you'll need to remember that. For audio bitrate, you'll want to always leave that as high as it'll go. That way we can make sure we hear all the beautiful, Sinatra-like tones of your voice, and it doesn't sound gravelly or robotic like Megatron. And you don't want to be mistaken for the Decepticons, that's not fun. I mean, especially not Starscream, he's a massive poon. Come on now, let's be honest here. The next setting we've got to worry about is automatically reconnect is sort of a streaming setting. You can leave this disabled if you're not streaming, but it doesn't do anything if you're just locally recording, so you can just leave it alone. And these settings are fine. They default to a pretty standard attempt to reconnect to your stream should a blip in your internet connection happen. If you're interested in changing these or what these might do, your streaming service of choice probably has more information about that in their facts section. I don't have the internet to stream, so I don't worry about it. And neither should you. It's usually fine by default. And the last thing in this section that we'll talk about is the Enable Advanced Encoding settings. And these are the settings that you'll pay attention to should you have any issues with lag while recording, if your video stutters, if your video has like garbliness to it, if it skips, if it starts and stops a lot. That's going to be handled via the X264 encoding preset. By default, it's set to very fast. If you experience lag, set it to super fast or ultra fast. If you've got a big fancy Mac Pro, I don't know why you would be buying that for gaming, but I don't judge, then you'd probably be able to set it to faster or fast. That's only if you have a really powerful PC that isn't really bothered by the use of OBS. And that will slightly improve your video recording quality. Super fast and ultra fast won't really kill your recording quality. All this is really doing, it's telling your computer's brain, the CPU, to prioritize your computer's performance over the video recording quality. Otherwise, if you're not seeing performance issues, just leave it at very fast. That's usually pretty good. Mostly because it doesn't matter what video you're recording at what quality. When you upload it to places like YouTube or to Twitch, their built-in server re-encoder, when it processes your video, is going to just destroy your video quality on some level, no matter who you are, when it super compresses it even further. So don't worry about, like, trying to maximize your video recording quality at every single level, because it's not going to really help you out all that much in the long run. And then the last setting we'll talk about is this little thing I have unclicked here. It's called Use Constant Bitrate. This is selected by default by OBS when you first turn it on and install it, and this is usually reserved for streaming. Constant bitrate basically means it's going to record and broadcast at whatever video bitrate you set it to, and it's not going to deviate from that number almost at all. And that kind of slightly reduces the quality of your video. If you disable constant bitrate, that changes it to a variable bitrate video. And that just means that OBS is now allowed to have just a little bit of wiggle room, a little breathing room on either side of that bitrate highway, so that if it needs a little bit more space or a little less to save on hard drive space because it doesn't need it, then it has that leeway to determine what it needs as you record. And it's nice to have elbow room once in a while, so I recommend when you're recording to leave this off. If you're streaming, leave Use Constant Bitrate on, because that's primarily for streaming. If you're on PC, that's called CBR, is what CBR stands for, Constant Bitrate. And that's it for output settings. We're going to leave audio for last, because this is a little bit tricky. But we're going to jump down to recording settings. So there's not a lot to say here. Renderer should only really give you the option of using OpenGL. If it lets you use your video card that's in your computer, like I've got an iMac, so I'd be able to use the AMD graphics card if it let me, select that. Otherwise, you can just leave it at OpenGL. And then your base resolution is whatever the monitor is that's currently plugged into your computer. Some of you guys might be using Mac Minis, some of you might be using an iMac like I do. You probably want to downscale, because this is just around 2K video or 4K video. You'll probably want to downscale your resolution to 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720. And it's actually got like a pull down full of all these standard sizes for you to use. Why do I recommend that? You're not getting a tremendous load more quality by recording above 1080p, and it will make your computer a lot happier if you don't try to record maximum quality. If you don't see an issue with it, then by all means record at 2560 by 1440. I just prefer to run it as standard size, like 1920 by 1080. If you're just using this for something like audio recording like I was trying to do earlier, then you can put this as something like 50 by 50. Frame rate values. You can go all the way up to 60, because we're a part of the PC master race, even though we're on Mac. Technically, a Mac is a personal computer. Don't question it. But the rule of thumb when it comes to frame rates is if you're not able to play a game at 60 frames per second, you're not going to be able to record 60 frames per second, even though you set your recorder to 60. So find yourself some way of determining what the frame rate of the game you're playing is. Some of them have a built-in previewer, some of them don't. And if you're able to get 60 or above, record at 60. If not, record at 30. Because all this does is say the video is allowed to record up to 60 frames per second, but it can record under that still too. And if you're uploading a 60 FPS video that's actually like 35, it's going to look choppy, it's going to look weird. You're better off leaving it at 30 because it'll look smoother and it'll load better for people at home. But again, if you can record 60, pop it at 60. For the most part, you just want to leave your FPS values to a common FPS value. But you can also record at integers or fractions. But for the most part, if you don't understand what those two settings are, just leave it at common frames per second value. Alright, now, last but not least, we've got audio settings. My mic is my lovely Yeti stereo microphone. It's a very nice professional recording microphone. It does a pretty good job. Now here's the rub. To record your desktop audio properly, the default or the whatever, you need to install a program called Soundflower. Soundflower is actually what's sitting here in the background. And Soundflower is a program that was created by this guy behind Rogue Amoeba Software, and it basically functions like a stereo mix for the Mac. It lets you redirect your Mac's audio into a virtual, like, little output that allows you to funnel all of your computer's audio into OBS. It's free, it's an open source program, it'll be linked in the video description. Download it real fast, pause this video, you're going to have to restart your computer to install this, and then come back to the video, and once you've got it installed, we're going to look up here, up in the upper right hand corner. Once you've got it turned on, you'll see this weird little, like, amoeba-like flower icon, and we'll select that, and that is the Soundflower interface. So under Soundflower, we're going to select the Soundflower 2CH channel, and we're going to set that to whatever your output device is. If it's your headphones, if it's your speakers, whatever, select that in this little list and ignore the other selector down here. Ignore Soundflower 64. My output device is actually my microphone. It's got a little audio jack in the base of it, so I'm going to select the Yeti stereo microphone. Once you do that, pop open your system preferences and then go to Sound. Once you're in Sound, find your way to Output Settings and then find Soundflower 2CH and select that as your output. You want to do that because it'll make sure all of your sound is going through that channel, and it'll also make sure that you can still hear it through your headphones or your speakers or whatever. Then, once you go back to OBS, you can either leave your desktop audio device at the default audio device, which will just default to whatever your system default is, or you can manually select Soundflower 2CH. And then you've got your mic selected, you've got your Soundflower selected, you're good to go, and that's all you need to worry about. A slight note, however, on the Soundflower thing. Some programs, like Mumble, the voice chat software, or maybe even Skype, if they're not being recorded by Mumble and they're not showing up, then you'll need to go into those programs and select the output device manually yourself as the Soundflower 2CH. And then you're good to go. Hopefully that helps for some of the people that are a little confused on how to set this stuff up. And sometimes you'll have to sometimes you will have to restart your computer a second time before you get started recording. Now, this is sort of the less technical part of the tutorial. This is where we'll talk about how to set up your recording scenes. Because as you can see, in the background here, there's nothing. It's just a boring black blank screen. And that, you can't put that on YouTube, that's boring. So, first off, you select the scene. So let's create a new scene. Larry's... Whoops. Okay, that's just my Larry scene. I was going to call it Larry's super cool scene. Can we still do that? Rename. Larry's super cool scene. There we go. And you select your scene, and then you will be able to select your sources, and you can dynamically switch between what scene you're using by just clicking on it or deleting the one that you're not using. So in my super cool scene, I'm going to add first let's add a window to capture. Actually, not a window. Let's just record my screen. So let's record my primary display, primary monitor. And now we can see my primary display. I've only got one, and you can determine whether or not you want it to see your cursor or to crop. And now we can see what you can see on my screen right now. Look, it's fancy. I can wiggle my recorder around and it moves. Yay. And now it'll start recording stuff. If you want to record a game, you'll open this up and you'll go down to window capture, or you can probably handle it with display capture. If it's not showing up with display capture, then you will want to run whatever game you're playing in windowed mode. And then if you're having trouble capturing audio, if your microphone's not showing up, then you'll want to use audio input capture, or you could even use an audio output capture to capture like an extra set of speakers if your game's going to another set of speakers for whatever reason. It happens sometimes. Not every Mac game is made equal. So let's say that this stuff that we're seeing right now is the cool game that I want to play, like Monument Valley or something. Now I want to add a webcam, which I plugged a webcam in for you guys so you can feel all fancy and special and stuff. So we're going to go down here to Video Capture Device. And this will be my webcam. And a lot of Macs come with a built-in webcam. You can also use like ManyCam virtual webcams, which are basically like a virtual webcam that records another screen or something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Logitech HD Pro, and then it'll start to appear up in the corner. Hello, YouTube. How are you? It's Larry. How are you doing? And then we can set that to record whatever quality we want. You got like all of these, but you can just leave it at 1280 by 720 and then resize this window however you like. Cropping these are a little bit fiddly. I am not sure how to do that. You'll have to play around in your recording sources to figure out how to do that. And then to make sure that your webcam shows up, you got to make sure that in your sources it appears on top of your monitor or your window capture. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it. It's like layers in Photoshop. So if I click this little down arrow, where did Larry go? Where did you go, Mr. Chupacabra? I'm just hiding underneath the monitor layer. Just click the up arrow, and now I'm appearing again. And then after that, you just select Start Streaming, Start Recording, and you're off to the races on the internet. Isn't that fancy? So that's about all we've got for this tutorial, everybody. Thanks for joining me, Mr. Chupacabra, for another delightful tutorial on Chupacabra Tutorials channel. If you have any questions on anything I've talked about this evening, or you need some clarification on any of these settings, drop me a comment in the comment section below, and I will try my best to help you as best as I can. But keep in mind, I have an iMac 2010, so for newer iMacs or even older iMacs, some of these settings may be different, and some Macs might not be able to handle OBS at all. So I'll try to do my best, but I can't promise you anything. If you don't think I can help you with it, or if it's a really like computer-specific problem, head over to the OBS forums. There's a lot of really nice people over there. They're more than willing to help you out. They got a lot more technical help lists and like forum posts to get you started. So don't be afraid to jump over there and see if they can help you. And until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Helps me out a whole bunch, helps me make more of these. And consider jumping over and checking out my gaming channel, where I do video game reviews, let's plays, and all sorts of other shenanigans. And until next time, have a good one, everybody, and toodaloo.